I won a tournament. By that, I mean I entered a tournament in one of the Caillou North America Discord servers, which had 5 entrants and 3 cancellations. So the tournament was me and one other person. We played one best of 3. I won that, so I won the tournament. Regardless of how the tournament was going to go, I was going to make this deck profile video anyway, just because I wanted to talk about what I was doing in the game right now, talk about how I think the game is right now, and get some conversation going in the community about deck building, about strategy, and about what we think of the game overall. So, I played a deck called Best Pet. And this is based off of May the Best Pet Win. It is a Rainbow Dash, Fluttershy, and their pets deck. It's very aggressive in the early and mid game, a little slower in the late game, but we'll get into that. But we will get into the deck profile, starting with what is, in my opinion, the most important stat line in the game, reflecting the numbers. I am playing 8 copies, that is 4 copies of 2 different printings of a 2/4 Rainbow Dash. 2/4 is, I think, in my opinion, the most important stat line in the game. If you are going first, it is probably the best thing you can do going first, especially on a boostable character. Going second, it's still very good. And then even in the later game, we'll get into some other ways that retains some usefulness. In addition to that, we also have 4 copies of the 1/1 Rainbow Dash. So this one comes in as a 1/3 for a single turn, and then goes back to a 1 for the opponent's turn. This is a more aggressive card. I used this card mostly filling in gaps in the later game. Filling in gaps in the later game to kind of get a little bit of board presence and to build up some power alongside some of the other cards that are here in the deck, 2 of which are 2 copies of Horseshoe. So any Rainbow Dash with Force of Harmony 2 or less gets +2. So I have 12 copies of Rainbow Dash that meet that description here. My rationale is that these are essentially 2 copies of a 4/6. With also having the option of being a 3/5 in the case of this one here. But I can do that in 2 installments. So if I play a 2/4 going first, when it comes back to me, I can spend another 2 and get the Horseshoe on it, and I'll have a 4 power. I'll have a 4 power character on the board. This is just to increase the flexibility. Since I'm playing so many 2/4s anyway, I want to make sure that later on I'm still able to get the most out of them. And then I am playing 4 copies of the 4/5 starter deck Rainbow Dash. This is pretty much the mid-game sort of win condition. If there is a tank on the field, when it hits the field, it pops something with power 4 or less, and with any luck, we will have a tank on the field because we are playing the 8 cheapest tanks available. This 2/3 tank can give +1 to a Rainbow Dash in the Inspiration area until the end of the turn. So something that actually came up is that I would play with 5 Force of Harmony. I would get to play the 1 Rainbow Dash. It would go up to 3 by its ability, and then play 2 tanks next to it, tap them both, and then this would be a 5. So that was just another way to get some more utility out of these cards. And then, of course, we want to keep these cheap, so that way we can get the tank plus popping Rainbow Dash, the silverware here. We want to get that online as soon as we can. This can happen as early as your turn 3, if you're lucky enough to begin your turn with a tank from the previous turn. More realistically, this is going to be happening your turn 4 or 5, depending on which one of these tanks you can pay for, and start with them in your hand. For a little extra pet consistency, we are playing We'll start with 3 copies of Friends from the Other Side. Look at the top 2 of your deck, add a Fluttershy or a pet. Don't shuffle the rest into the deck, send them to retirement. So, the only other pet support card, well, not the only other pet support that we have here, is 2 copies of Attend to Cure. This is a pet reborn with force cost 2 or less. So that is all of the tanks and the angels that we're going to see in a little bit here. It's a reborn option, so if you have to play, for example, your 2/3 tank in the early game, it ends up dying, you can pay 2 for the Attend to Cure to bring it back, and that way you will have your dash combo online. But that does get us into the Fluttershy side of the deck. Fluttershy is mostly there for the mid to late game, and really gives us some power there. So we're starting with 4 copies of probably the best 3-cost character in the game, in my opinion. This 3/4 Fluttershy, it's a 6 on the opponent's turn. If you play this on your turn 2, you are gonna be a problem for a while. These don't have any pet synergy, they're just good cards and additional targets for Friends from the Other Side. Really happy with how that card performed. These next 4 I'm not so sure about. We're playing the 5/6. That taps to give a pet +2. What I found is that by the time you have the resources to get this on the field, even at +2, the pets that you're playing aren't going to be strong enough to do anything with that boost. So I'm probably thinking about changing this one out, or maybe even adding in some stronger pets, we'll see, to help with that late game. And then the sort of poster child of late game are 3 copies of the 7/9 Fluttershy. When there's a pet on your field, it's a 6/9, which means if you have a tank in your hand along with that, you can play both for 7 instead of just the 1, which is really cool. And then 9 is just huge, of course. And this card in the late game, again, it's a problem when this thing hits the board, especially if it costs 6. Very happy with how this card did in the deck. One of the games that I played in the tournament, I opened 2 copies and then drew the 3rd post-mulligan. And even then, I actually ended up winning that game. But just having 1 of these is exactly why. I think 3 is okay. 4 might be a problem. But we do have 4 of the 2/3 angels. It's another 2 cost, so it is another Attend to Cure target. It is a Friends from the Other Side target as well. And similar to the 3/4 Fluttershy that becomes a 6, this goes up to a 5 if it's next to Fluttershy. So if you have both of these for 5 mana, you have a 5 and a 6 on the opponent's turn, which is pretty solid. I didn't see this a whole lot though, so I'm not sure if I'm planning on keeping that moving on. Probably. And then the last few cards in the deck here are 2 copies of Washing Day and 2 copies of Experience Report. I think they're bait, but I'm still taking the Experience Report bait. The idea behind Washing Day is to help you out in the later game, because Rainbow Dash here can only pop cards with power 4 or less. So Washing Day, if something has 6 or more, this will reduce it by 2. So in other words, if your opponent has a 6 exactly, this will put it in the Rainbow Dash range. Didn't exactly pan out that way. This card sat in my hand every game. Experience Report does come up. It is pretty expensive at a 3-cost event, but the ability for something to not die in battle is really, really good. This is another mid to late game thing, but sometimes you just can't get that 1 extra power you need to get over something. So you can Experience Report and crash it, or you can play something really little, like Tank or something like that, and then Experience Report it so that it can actually be a blocker on the opponent's turn, and protect your plans. I don't know that I'll play this at more than 3 or more than 2, because I don't see this coming up more than once per game, and we don't have a lot of cycling that you see with like some of the Pinkie Pie cards and the Spike cards that let you draw and then discard and help keep you cycling through the deck. But yeah, that is the main deck. Going back to talking about the late game, kind of the big removal combo here with this dash. This is a very mid-game kind of combo. Once you hit the late game, it's kind of just these Fluttershys and nothing else, which is why our story is Griffin the Brush-Off. So, like most stories, the first promotion lets you draw a card, but then both of these are battle tricks, the second and the third. One nerfs a 6 inspiration by 3, the other one buffs a Rainbow Dash by 4. Both of these are very, very helpful in helping some of your weaker cards navigate the late game. Usually what I do, I promote to the first one as soon as possible, and then I will probably remove all 3 of my opponent's remaining plans before I start advancing my own, just because I want to save these effects and keep them online for as long as possible until I need them. Other than that, we have the Scene deck, which, to keep it simple, is 6 Fluttershy boosters and 9 dash boosters. And even then, I'm thinking about increasing the dash amount. With the Fluttershys, having the ability to boost a little bit is good, especially because it makes the 3/4s harder to remove. If you need to boost the 9, it's because you need to eat up some of your opponent's boosts as well, because there's nothing that's going to be naturally stronger than that. But really, it's to help make these 3/4s more of a problem. But the ratio ended up working okay. I found myself a little short on dash boosts, but it wound up being okay, so that may be something I just live with for now. But yeah, that is the list. I know it's kind of disorganized here. That's the list. Let me know what you guys think. If you've played a deck or something like this, let me know. What did you think? If you have any feedback on cards I should be playing, I know I have a playset of Time for Cleanup in my bulk that I just couldn't find a place to fit in here. But yeah, I would love to hear your guys' thoughts. Have a good one, guys.